Okay, so I'm going to do some testing on the new 5.4 kernel, which I haven't installed yet. It also updates the firmware on the Raspberry Pi 4 as well. So I thought I'd try both of those, but before I do that, I thought I'd do some tests on some games with frame rate, so I've got something to compare with. So if I go into Retropie, RetroArch, we need to scroll down to Settings, and then we need to scroll down to on-screen display, on-screen notifications, and then display frame rate. So if I quit out of that, I need to save that by going to configuration file, save current configuration. So that's now saved. So let's quit out of that and try PlayStation first of all, and just start up my Rallycross game that I used in one of my previous videos. And on the top right hand corner you can see there's FPS. So we're currently at 50. I don't think the PlayStation emulator is going to struggle, but I've got some Nintendo ones that I know will struggle to do the tests. Just go straight into this and see that it stays as is. Oh, it's dropped a bit. And this is overclocked to 2147 at the moment. It's not really dropping, is it? Whoop. No, it's not struggling. So let's try the N64, because there's a couple on here that don't run particularly well, and they are Excitebike and Destruction Derby. Destruction Derby's always been one of the ones I wanted to get working, but it really struggles badly. And I'm hoping with this new kernel, which I'll put a load of links in the description and various things about what it changes, but also with the new firmware. One of the comments on my videos was saying that they'd managed to overclock to 2.3 gigahertz, and I thought that would be interesting to try. And I'm going to do it on my version revision 1.2 Pi. I'm going to leave my original one as stock. So what are we on? 33, 37. And hopefully we can get this higher. Be interested to see what happens with this, because so this starts off, there you go, like 23. I'll just lay off the accelerator because it seems to wheel spin for ages if you don't. So you can see it's speeding up, 27. .24. So that's weird because it's definitely going faster, but the FPS doesn't really suggest that it is. 33.81. Maybe that's because the intervals that it upstate. Yeah, 40, 40.68. It's not easy to drive when you're looking up top right. Ooh. 32.84. You'll see when the sun comes out here around the corner that it really, yeah, that, what does it go down to? Yeah, the interval's a bit infrequent, isn't it? I could do with 26.01. Definitely felt slower than that. And this is really, I really like this game, really playable. And I like the way that they send the cars in opposite you. Because it adds an extra level, because you're coming around the corner and all of a sudden there's 3 or 4 cars you've got to weave in and out of. So let's try a bit of Excitebike as well, because this also struggles badly. Yeah, 19, that. What a shame, because this is a great game. I wonder if this does the same as the Destruction Derby, where it speeds up and slows down. 22.9, it's a steady 22.38 at the moment. Oh, 18.91. Oh, a nice jump though. That's sped up, isn't it? So you'll see, yeah, 22.28. So let's quit out of that. I wonder if I I'm just going to have a look at the RetroArch and just see if I can do that interval for the FPS to see if I can get it to do it more often. So RetroArch, on-screen notifications, display frame rate update interval. So if it's going 20 frames a second, yeah. So I think we'll do it every, let's go 120. Right, so let's try again, and we'll go back into N64 and try Excitebike and see if it's updating more often. Oh, it's going to the side for some reason then. Don't know why it was going to the side. .94, 17.89, 20.2. Yeah, it's a bit more regular, so let's go with that. That's going to be a better way of doing it. See if I can make this big jump. That's slow motion. See, it skips 28, so it goes up near 30. I wonder if this runs about 30. It feels right now. What's happened now? That actually feels fine. I wonder if something was loading up that didn't quite load up. Yeah, I reckon this is probably supposed to run at 30. How strange. Let's just turn off the music as well. Yeah, so this is now running at 30. And just see if it's just the start that does it. Because definitely on the Destruction Derby, it does it at different points. So there's something that toggles it. So whether or not there's something on this start bit that's causing it to slow down really badly. See, is it these lights in the background? See, there's 4 lights. Is it that one element that's causing it to do it? You can see there's sort of... Nice. Okay, so once you get past it, maybe they don't show those lights. Okay, well that's something to bear in mind anyway. So I'm doing it on the start of the test more than in the race. It starts to speed up really well. Right, so let's quit out of that. Okay, so I'm now running the latest version of Raspbian. So let's open a terminal and see what we've got running on here currently. So this will tell me the firmware version, and this will tell me the kernel. So 4.19.97, that's easy to remember. So let's use this, and so this is like a nightly build of a kernel and a firmware update. So it's not the stable release, it's not the one that they do in the normal update. This is, you know, kind of the cutting edge one that they're testing, and they want people to tell them what the results they get from it are. So I've got 2 Pi 4s. I wouldn't do it if I only had one, but as I've got 2 and one's kind of a spare, like a backup, I figured I'd do it on that. And this is my revision 1.2 Pi 4 I'm currently running on at the moment. So let's sudo rpi -update. There's a good article on Retropie, and I'll put a link to this in the description, but it talks about this kernel 5.4 and saying what it can do, and there's a whole thread that you can read how people have been getting along with it, but also there's on the raspberrypi.org site, there's a bit on there as well, which is worth reading. But again, I'm not suggesting people do this, read all the things and then see what you think. So this update bumps to Raspberry Pi 5.4 Linux tree. Raspberry Pi should only be used if there is a specific reason to do so, for example, a request by a Raspberry Pi engineer. So again, it's saying do not use it as a regular update process. So would I like to proceed? Yes. So it's updating firmware, updating kernel modules, it's all downloaded. Okay, so now we need to reboot. Well, it started up alright and everything looks alright. Famous last words. So let's do, so we can compare that to the other number, and I'll put these, in fact with the magic of editing, I'll put it beside it. So this is the new one on the left. There you go, so there's the kernel compared. So let's try this in Retropie and see if just doing this process has made any difference to the frame rate. Obviously it could do lots of different things to lots of different emulators and systems and video playback and all sorts. Read through all the notes, read through all people's comments to see what they found, but I just thought it'd be interesting to try it. Okay, so let's try Retropie. Okay, so it doesn't fix the tearing issue. How can I do this? So if I go full screen, the YouTube tearing issue is still there, and it occasionally does this. So the video driver's not quite right for YouTube, but let's carry on and have a look at Retropie. I just thought I'd try that before I rebooted. Okay, so back in with the new kernel and the new firmware. Still very stuttery. And then it starts to speed up a bit. When we go past this, it seems to be a good corner to get round. Oh. Yeah, now it gets to normal speed, or pretty much. So on this bit, it seems normal. Obviously, I'm not looking at the FPS. Oh. So it doesn't seem to have made a lot of difference on this game and this particular emulator, but obviously it's all different emulators and what they're using and how the kernel is going to affect that is how we'll see it. So I'm just going to keep testing and playing with things and try that overclock. Let's just have a quick look at Destruction Derby. And again, I'm picking these because I know they're bad. There are some things that on N64 that work absolutely fine, but these games I've wanted to play and they've always had pretty bad performance when emulated on the Pi. Still pretty slow. I'll just lay off the accelerator because it seems to wheel spin for ages if you don't. It is weird, I played a whole race on this earlier on, and it definitely is some of the effects, because as you go through the race, a lot of the cars stop and catch fire, and they're just sort of on the track, and you'd come up to these cars on the track, and they would really slow the game down, because again, it's this effect. And there could be a way of just disabling it. If I go through into settings, or just try a different emulator, there could be a way of disabling this. Yeah, I mean, looking at the frames per second, I don't think it's that different with the kernel and the firmware update on this, but obviously other things might be vastly affected by it, some things not so much, but also it does give me the option of overclocking higher in theory. I don't know how high I can go or what to do with the overvoltage, I'll experiment with that, but I'll do that in another video. Well, this guy's a bit annoying, isn't he? Oh, I thought I was going to get out of that. Never mind. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got any tips or any information or any other things to add on to this or settings to change, please let me know. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe.